When I brought up the idea of divorce, Evelyn was getting ready to head out to the hospital with the man she was seeing. She stopped what she was doing for a moment, seeing how serious I was, and said, "I understand. It's my fault. Whatever you want, I'll agree to it." People used to say I was so lucky to have been Evelyn's husband for 10 years. Even when we were splitting up, she wasn't harsh with me. Only I knew that the year I graduated, I moved to El City just for her. I nearly risked everything with my family over it. And I still remember when her mother found out she wanted to marry me, Evelyn ended up with 3 broken ribs. But none of that seemed to matter anymore. I looked at Evelyn, offered a small smile, and said, "Fine, then my only condition is that you never show your face to me again." The rain that evening was incredibly heavy. The whole world looked like it was being washed over by endless sheets of water. An orange typhoon warning light was flashing at the port, lighting up the area every 15 seconds. It was a clear reminder for everyone to prepare for a major storm. Just then, Uncle Robert spoke softly, holding my packed bags. "Sir, the wind has calmed down a little. We should go to the villa. The driver is already waiting for us in the parking lot." I nodded and looked at the clock on the wall. It was almost 10:30. Evelyn hadn't returned yet. She had gone out earlier, promising to be back, but it looked like that wasn't going to happen. An hour later, the black sedan pulled up at the villa at the base of the hill. I barely had time to get out of the car when I saw Evelyn helping a man. He was slim, dressed casually, with eyes that looked red, like he'd been crying. I lowered my head, standing in the rain, and met Evelyn's gaze. Uncle Robert had been held up and hadn't made it to cover me with an umbrella. Within seconds, the rain had soaked most of my hair. Evelyn slightly frowned, automatically letting go of the man and putting her hand over my head. Her large palm still felt warm, but the rain quickly drenched it. "A storm is coming. Where are you going?" she asked. I gently pushed her hand away and quickly walked toward the porch, my expression stern. "Just go. I have something important to discuss with you." Evelyn didn't answer. Instead, she turned to the person next to her. "Take Leon to the hospital first. I'll handle this." Now I understood why she stayed out so late and had to rush out again. Her lover had probably spent the day worrying about the child and was now making a fuss about going to the hospital. Hearing her, the man clung to Evelyn's sleeve, looking on the verge of tears. "Evelyn, I don't want to be by myself. Please come with me." Evelyn briefly soothed him. "Don't be scared. You go ahead." I felt a bit dizzy. I let out a breath and told Evelyn, "I'm going inside first. Hurry back. I need to talk to you." With that, I walked inside. I knew she would stay, and how long she stayed wasn't my concern anymore. A few minutes later, Evelyn came in and sat on the sofa, seemingly trying to figure out how to explain things. Honestly, there was no need. I knew the man well. Leon was the son of Evelyn's mother's close friend. He came back from overseas a year ago and fell in love with Evelyn immediately. A young guy in his 20s, his love was intense, like a moth drawn to a flame. He spent a third of the Harrington family's fortune in half a year supporting her career. I used to joke that she was taking advantage of a younger man, charming the Harringtons out of their money. Now I saw that maybe this was the inevitable heartache of love. When one person gives everything emotionally, it genuinely moves the other. No one can truly resist that. It was the same for me when I met Evelyn when I was 17 in a foreign country. When she protected me, didn't I fall for her too? That's why I gave up everything to move to El City at 22. Seeing her frown, I reassured her, "You don't have to explain anything to me." Surprise mixed with guilt crossed her face. "Ethan, I'll arrange for the lawyer to transfer 33.3% of the W Group subsidiary shares to you tomorrow." "Not 33.3%. Evelyn, you were unfaithful. I want all the subsidiary shares." Pulling out the divorce agreement I had already prepared from my bag, I gently pushed it toward her. Looking at her calmly, I said, "Evelyn, let's get a divorce." The brief silence felt like the stillness before a massive storm. Everyone knew this calm was misleading. Once the typhoon gained full power in its center, it would head straight for the vulnerable port city. The world would fall apart, and everything would be destroyed. I saw a surge of strong emotion in Evelyn's eyes. But she wasn't the same girl who once broke 3 ribs just to marry me. So in an instant, those emotions completely faded away. "Ethan, you've really thought this through?" It wasn't really a question, but more of a statement. I nodded. "Of course, or I wouldn't be here." She paused, seemingly understanding. The villa wasn't far from the Miller family's old estate, just over a small hill. Back then, Evelyn's mother was furious about our marriage. She swore she would never accept me as her son-in-law as long as she lived. In 10 years, I had only been to the villa a handful of times. Maybe Evelyn allowed Leon to stay here. Or perhaps her mother believed Leon was the legitimate son-in-law, worthy of living so close to the old home. Either way, I knew she was here. "I came for the divorce." "I know I overstepped. Don't worry. I'll agree to whatever you want." While speaking, she reached into her pocket. She felt for the Mont Blanc pen I'd given her, which she usually carried, but it wasn't there. I didn't say anything. I just handed her another one. I tapped the place where she needed to sign. "I've signed. You need to sign too. I don't want anything that doesn't belong to me," I subtly urged her. She made a soft sound, hesitated with the pen cap open, and finally wrote her name next to mine. 2004-11-10. Ethan Evelyn. After she signed, I took the paper and put it into the folder. It was just a thin sheet of paper that light could pass through. Yet it carried the weight of my 10 years. With the divorce agreement in hand, I got up and walked toward the 2nd floor. Just as I was about to turn the corner, I leaned down and asked her, "Is the main bedroom occupied?" She shook her head. "No." I gave a small smirk, watching the faint light fall on her. I remembered the first time I came to this house. Back then, she was worried I would find it too damp at the foot of the mountain. So she brought several sets of silk bedding and insisted on making the bed herself. In this very master bedroom, she carefully made the bed. It was all genuine care. But sadly, we only spent 1 night there. The very next day, she took me to the old house. Evelyn's mother nearly fainted when she saw me. She pointed at Evelyn and shouted, "You could marry anyone, but you choose Mr. Jones's son? Are you just trying to kill me with stress?" When Evelyn refused to back down, her mother grabbed an expensive ivory snuff bottle from the mahogany table and smashed it on her head. Then she picked up a solid gold wooden cane and hit her on the back. The dull thudding sound went on for a while, until Evelyn's mother was completely out of breath and screamed furiously, "Get out!" Evelyn, pale and struggling to stand, held my hand and slowly walked out. At the hospital, we found out 3 of her ribs were broken. Even then, in front of her mother, she never let go of my hand. She firmly stated, "I don't care who Ethan's father is. I only want to marry him in this life." But within a decade, before Evelyn's mother even passed away, we were finished. It was probably for the best. Better than her mother passing away and us not making it anyway. Evelyn didn't stay long that night, only about half an hour. I guessed Leon showed up at the hospital and hurried her. I truly didn't like that little house on the mountain. Yet I slept soundly that night. Funny enough, the typhoon changed course at the last minute and headed somewhere else. Victoria Harbor remained peaceful and calm. Still, I wondered if she remembered it was our 10-year anniversary. Half a month later, I met Evelyn at Government Building number 12 to file for divorce. In court, my lawyer quietly said, "Ethan, Evelyn also gave you those 3 houses." I looked at Evelyn. She nodded at me, seemingly saying, "Take it. I owe you that." I pushed down my feelings and told the lawyer, "Forget the real estate and the cars. Exchange it for stocks, and let's get this done quickly." He nodded and went over to discuss with Evelyn's lawyer. In that moment, Evelyn came over to my side, almost promising, "Don't worry, Ethan. The W Group's profits will always find their way to you." I chuckled. "I know, I just found an interesting strategy with those stocks this year." Seeing me smile, it seemed to cheer her up a bit. Again, she used the same words from that night. "All right, whatever you prefer. Whatever you want, I'll agree." I didn't say anything. I just felt a slight wave of nausea. Thanks to Evelyn's generosity, the asset division moved quickly. The final result left me satisfied. I received all the shares of the W Group's wholly owned subsidiary, valued at over $1.2 billion, and 45% of the shares in 3 technology companies the W Group had invested in, worth about $700 million. Plus, Evelyn's own startups brought my total share to over $3 billion. Not an excessive amount, but certainly not small either. Once everything was finalized, I finally got that certificate. I felt lighter all over. Walking quickly down the corridor, I heard Evelyn call out, "Ethan! Ethan!" I stopped, annoyed, and turned to her, knitting my eyebrows. "Evelyn, stop calling me Ethan. It's disgusting." She froze for a moment, finally realizing that my friendly demeanor over the past half-month was just me waiting for this final day of divorce. Silent for a bit, she eventually said, "I just wanted to say, rest assured, whatever else you need in the future, I'll agree to it." I smiled. A beam of light fell past the Roman pillars behind Evelyn, shining directly on her. It was like fate playing a joke, asking me, "Ethan, are you sure you're not changing your mind? She's the center of attention." Without a moment's hesitation, I nodded. "All right, Evelyn, here is my request. Never appear in front of me again." For a moment, I saw her face look completely shattered, as if she'd been hit, leaving her pale. As I turned and easily walked away, the sun was at its highest point, making the road ahead glitter. It was brighter here than that spotlight. News about my divorce from Evelyn spread quickly. There was no doubt who was responsible. Leon had pushed persistently for a year, finally cornering Evelyn with his ex's child, Terry. Once I started the divorce, if he didn't announce it to the world, it would be a miracle from the Harringtons. Still, I didn't expect him to be so foolish. Right outside the W Group, surrounded by the media, their cameras were clicking and buzzing like a swarm of hungry sparrows. "Ethan, is it true you and Evelyn are divorced? Is it because you couldn't get her pregnant in the last 10 years? Ethan, rumors say your infertility prevented Evelyn's mother from accepting you. Is that true? Will the divorce affect the future of the W Group? Are you really being pushed out? Would you care to comment?" I couldn't be bothered with them. I was about to have my bodyguards block them when I saw Leon approaching, leading a 5- or 6-year-old boy. His distinctive tone quickly grabbed the reporter's attention. "Oh man, you people are too much! She's already in pain because she can't have children, and now she's going through a divorce? Feeling like a stray dog? Yet you keep badgering her with questions." Those reporters, sharp as always, quickly changed their focus and asked, "Leon, is this child the little heir of the W Group?" "Leon, did Evelyn divorce Ethan for you and this child?" "Leon, when are you and Evelyn getting married?" Leon flashed a bright smile and waved his hand, saying, "Soon, soon. His name is Terry, Evelyn's first boy. Seeing my calm expression, Leon raised an eyebrow and leaned in, whispering, "Stop pretending. If you want to cry, just do it. You can't blame anyone. You can't have kids, and you can't keep anyone in check." I didn't say a word. I just looked at him and slapped him across the face. The loud crack echoed, and Leon's left cheek turned bright red. He looked at me angrily and said, "You dared to hit me?" I chuckled. "Why wouldn't I dare? This child with you is one you had with your ex-girlfriend. Evelyn and I just divorced a few days ago. Proof of her infidelity during our marriage. Say one more word, and I'll make sure everyone knows Terry is your illegitimate child with your ex. Let's see if the Millers would accept a random kid as their heir." I mimicked his tone as I spoke. After I finished, he glared at me with intense hatred. I didn't understand. Evelyn and I were already divorced. What did he have against me? Soon, Evelyn's car pulled up beside the road. She opened the door and walked straight toward us. The reporters tried to swarm her, but the bodyguards pushed them away. She looked at me, her eyes clouded with concern. In the few days since I last saw her, she'd lost a lot of weight. Her custom-made suit was now slightly loose. Seeing her, Leon immediately turned pitiful, trying to wrap his arm around her, but she pushed him away. She quickly walked toward me and asked, "Are you okay?" I raised my eyebrows, wondering what was happening, but I still replied politely, "I'm fine. I'll be leaving now." After speaking, I prepared to walk in the other direction. Leon got annoyed and yelled, "Evelyn, Terry is still here. Why are you asking him if he's okay? Look!" He shoved his slapped face forward, complaining, "He even hit me. Why did he get to hit me?" Evelyn frowned and said, "Ethan has always been calm. What did you say or do to provoke him? Can't you just behave?" Leon was completely stunned by her scolding. As she walked toward me, she asked, "My Ethan, is it all right if I call you that?" I neither agreed nor disagreed and asked, "Anything else?" She paused and asked, "Are you leaving El City?" "This morning, I brought some finance people from S City to deal with a few companies. She must have guessed I was leaving." I nodded. She asked again, "When will you come back?" Before I could answer, Leon let out a scream, clearly shocked by Evelyn's words, as if only now realizing what was being implied. I smiled, my eyes gleaming, and said, "When Leon throws a party to celebrate you, I'll come to bring a gift. Evelyn, how about I give you a grand present then?" She lowered her gaze, silent, her mood seemingly low. Over the years, I'd rarely seen her so dejected. It reminded me of when we first met. I had just arrived in Los Angeles and wasn't familiar with anything. I was often mocked as an inexperienced newcomer. They would put gum in my hair and smear glue on my seat. It was minor bullying that wasn't taken seriously, and the teacher didn't care. Until one day. A few boys, laughing, said they'd take me somewhere fun. They were dragging me along when, at the last moment, Evelyn blocked our way. She looked up at them and said coldly, "Get lost." It eventually turned into a fight. She got bruised, but still looked at me intensely and said, "From now on, stick with me." I carefully applied medicine for her and nodded. In that moment, I was captivated. After that day, I became her constant companion. I learned she'd been sent overseas alone at 15. Those 2 years abroad had left her with severe depression. She seemed to be in the same state right now. But I didn't want to care anymore. After all, we were divorced. So I pretended not to notice. A few seconds later, she looked at me and said, "All right, make sure you come." A few days later, I returned to S City. The moment I landed at S City's capital airport, I felt a bit anxious about returning to my hometown. I remember when I was 22. I graduated and followed Evelyn to El City. At first, my parents didn't react much, just complaining that grown sons are hard to keep. But not long after, they discovered Evelyn's identity and almost forced me to return to S City. My father, like Evelyn's mother, was furious, nearly having a heart attack, telling me to leave before he really got too sick to regret it. I refused, not understanding why they wouldn't allow us to be together, creating a conflict, until Evelyn had 3 ribs broken and spent months in the hospital, yet insisted on marrying me. Only then did my mother soften, partly forcing, partly persuading my father to fly to El City and reveal an old story to me. It turned out both my father and Evelyn's mother had once been illegal immigrants to El City. They'd been caught and detained together several times. The most dangerous time, Evelyn's mother nearly died in jail, and my father gave up his water and food to save her. But good deeds didn't pay off. During a massive police raid, Evelyn's mother reported my father. Because of that report, my father lost any chance to stay in El City. Meanwhile, Evelyn's mother stayed and became wealthy. Since then, my father, unwilling to give up, went on to the capital. After countless struggles, he achieved what he has today. Knowing Evelyn's identity, my father wouldn't compromise. After all, with a mother like Evelyn's, how could Evelyn be any good? Later, my parents wanted to take me away, but I didn't want to leave. Eventually, things almost broke down between us. 10 years later, looking back now, whether it's the pain of Evelyn's infidelity during our marriage or anything else. So in the end, we got divorced and went our separate ways. It was simply a matter of cause and effect, and truthfully, I guess I brought this on myself. Ethan? Ethan? A voice, slightly familiar but distant, called out. I looked up, a bit surprised. I didn't expect it to be her picking me up. The woman walking toward me was tall and slender, wearing a dark, tailored coat that reached her knees. Underneath, a black turtleneck made her look especially refined. Her trousers were sharp and matching the style, paired with loafers, giving off an intellectual look. I waved and smiled, greeting Laura. Long time no see. Laura was the daughter of my mom's friend. The same age as me, she was always top of her class, never taking second place. I heard she's now teaching psychology at Peking University. She seemed happy to see me. She took my suitcase and handed me a hand warmer that had already been warmed up in her pocket, saying, "It's cold, huh?" It's only early December, but S City has already seen its first snow. Compared to L City, S City is definitely colder. I nodded. Where are my parents? Are they... Over the past couple of years, as we all got older, my relationship with my parents improved quite a bit. But in the past, I did hurt them. So if they didn't come, I'd understand. They're outside. It's too cold, so I didn't let them get out of the car. You'll see them in a bit. A few minutes later, I got into the passenger seat of the SUV. I saw my parents sitting in the back. My heart pounded a little, and in just a second my nose tingled as I held back tears. Before I could speak, my mom leaned forward. She looked me over, her eyes welling up. "Ethan, you've lost weight. Have you not been eating well?" After not seeing each other for a while, the first thing she says is, "You've lost weight." I pressed my lips together and called out, "Mom!" All the anger and disappointment from who knows how long burst out at the sight of her. 5 years in love, 10 years married, wasting half of my life. How could I not feel wronged? In El City, I had no safe place. Only the small world I created for myself. But in S City, I have my parents. Mom wiped her tears, and the two of us just looked at each other, teary-eyed in someone else's car. "All right. Why are you crying? It's nothing monumental. Don't let Laura see us like this," Dad said after a few seconds. His voice was awkward, but he tried to sound strong. Laura raised an eyebrow, smiling. "I left my ears at home today. I didn't hear a thing." With that, the sad mood lightened up a bit. I looked at my dad, opening my mouth. "Dad?" Dad gave a small nod and looked at me deeply. "Home. It's good that you're back." That evening, I went home with my parents to S City. Laura had to teach the next day, so she drove back to H-Town. This apartment used to be where I lived before going abroad. Now my parents have long since bought a bigger, more luxurious place. Yet, I still wanted to stay here. After a shower, I asked Dad, "Dad, can I sleep with you tonight?" Mom hummed, "Back home and already hogging your dad, really?" I joked, "The order of things is reversed." Mom was speechless for a moment, but then laughed. Dad couldn't say no to me, and nodded. "All right, we'll have a father-son talk. We'll sleep in the guest room then." I chuckled softly, feeling truly happy. Once Dad and I turned off the lights and lay down, he couldn't hold back and quietly asked, "Did you two split?" It was like he was afraid saying her name would make me sad, so he avoided it. I responded quietly, "Yeah, split. Took quite a bit of her money, too." Dad gave me a playful pinch. "What are you doing, son? You two were one. What's hers is yours. Besides, she was outrageous. Should have left her with nothing. They're rotten to the core." Listening to Dad's almost angry rant, I just smiled, saying, "Yeah, Dad, you and Mom are good judges of character. I was blind. I regret wasting so much time. Would things have been different if I'd left with you guys back then?" My voice stopped. After a long pause, Mom replied, "Everyone gets tricked sometimes. It's not a waste. There's no path in life that doesn't matter. Those years made you who you are now." I let a tear fall in the darkness. Dad didn't blame me, but I felt incredibly foolish. I was so certain Evelyn would always love only me. A few seconds later, Dad shifted, letting out a frustrated sigh. "You know, Laura's a good person. Even though she got married and divorced, I was amused by the sudden change in topic. "Dad, I know Laura's great, but you can't force things. She doesn't like—" Dad cut me off. "Who says she doesn't? She's liked you for years. If you hadn't gone after Evelyn in El City and married her, Laura wouldn't have listened to her mom and gotten married then divorced in months. She hasn't married since." I paused, remembering the times Laura chased after me growing up. When I was 15, I crashed my motorcycle into a pillar, scraping my knees. Laura, usually so calm, panicked, running around like a headless chicken. She quietly repeated, Don't worry. We'll get to a hospital. Where's the hospital?" I almost laughed, coming back to the present with Dad watching me. I turned away, replying, "It's nothing. Don't worry about it. I'm not planning to marry again. I need to sleep." Dad just said, "Okay," but still told me to think about it before we fell asleep. A week of dreary rain. The typhoon didn't make landfall, but still had an effect. At the private hospital in downtown El City, Leon's voice was sharp and grating. "I don't care. Get her here now. I want to see Evelyn. She can't treat me like this." Evelyn rubbed her temples, feeling more exhausted than ever since Ethan left. "So noisy. I'm here." She spoke from the doorway of the hospital room. Leon's eyes turned red the moment he saw her. He rushed to the bed without even putting on his shoes. "Evelyn, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have made such a scene about you and Ethan's divorce. I didn't realize it would impact the W group." The incident Leon caused outside the W Group quickly got out of hand, and before long, the main company's stock just kept dropping. Evelyn knew deep down it wasn't just the media buzz causing this. Ethan had made his move. After returning to S City, he sold all his shares to GT Group. That's his father's company, and their influence is much bigger than Evelyn had imagined. In just a week, Ethan used GT Group to pressure the W Group. If the W Group and its subsidiaries didn't want to become GT Group's local branches in L City, they had to buy back the shares at a high price. If they didn't, GT Group would soon absorb all the companies, and then the W Group would follow. If the W Group ended up under Ethan's family, Evelyn feared her mother would be furious. Evelyn took a deep breath of cold air. So his idea of a fun game was to make her and the W Group sacrifice themselves, just like Leon had done for the past year, all to fuel the GT Group. Such precise, ruthless methods. Then she shook her head, thinking, that's just like him. She remembered him being just 17, and after getting familiar with the area, he started dominating everywhere. In one competition, he single-handedly stood against 14 teams and several mentors who looked down on him. Starting with only 500, within half a month, he swallowed up the entire assets of 4 teams. Then, together, they beat the remaining 10 teams, growing from 500 to 5,000, and then to precisely 79,624 form. In just 3 months, they won, and they won big. Later, he donated all the money they made back home. It made those arrogant Americans furious, but they were powerless. Thinking back, she couldn't help but smile. Those years, just the two of them, far away in a foreign land. Her Ethan always by her side. He was like a little sun, melting away all the negativity. He would hold her and comfort her when she had arguments with her mom. Knowing she was alone overseas, having been isolated, looked down upon, bullied and ostracized, enduring unfair insults and scolding. He'd shed tears for her pain. All those emotions that pushed her near her breaking point were resolved one by one after he came into her life. Even when she harmed herself during depressive episodes, he would throw himself on her, hold her tight, and keep saying, "I'll always be with you." Ethan was the one who brought her back to life. "Evelyn! Evelyn!" Leon's frantic shaking brought her back. Leon pouted, unhappy. "What are you thinking about? Did you hear me? My dad is asking when we're getting married." Evelyn pushed Leon's hand away. Marriage? Her husband has always been just one person. After a few seconds, it was like she understood everything. She realized everything she had already belonged to Ethan. If he wanted it, she wouldn't hesitate to offer it to him. Now that he wanted to play, why not? With that, the warning was loud and clear. "Enough. I have things to do. Don't cause any more trouble." With that, Evelyn turned and left, leaving Leon yelling desperately behind her. In the speeding car, Evelyn frowned. She watched the video showing Ethan's parents beaming at him, and next to him sat a poised woman. She had seen this woman in Ethan's childhood photo albums before. She remembered the name. Laura. Apparently, in less than half a month, Ethan's parents were already thinking about finding him a new wife. And this woman clearly adored Ethan. A few seconds later, Evelyn closed her eyes, deep in thought. She realized she was wrong. She assumed that even after divorcing, she could keep him close. Even though she signed the papers, it was just to ease his anger. After all, they had over a decade together. Surely his soft heart would forgive her. But now, she was suddenly worried. GT Group or S City, it didn't matter. Her biggest fear was still his parents. 10 years ago, Ethan was willing to abandon everything for her and head to L City. But returning to S City now, it seemed impossible for him to head south alone again. Opening her eyes, determination flickered in Evelyn's eyes. She picked up her phone and made a call. "Sell the W Group shares and book me the earliest flight to S City. The sooner the better." "Good morning, Ethan. I've got good news and even better news. Which one do you want to hear first?" During this period, I got involved with GT Group, starting with $3 billion. No one dared to say a word. Right now, talking to me is a secretary my dad found, Jeremy. At 25, he was hand-picked right after graduation. Having him as my secretary is a bit of a waste. I chuckled and said, "Tell me the good news first." His eyes sparkled. "This morning, Laura brought flowers again. Said she was just passing by, but I doubt that. That bouquet looks like it's from the old shop on West Street. Quite a trip, wouldn't you say?" Only then did I notice a bunch of roses on the large desk, pink with a hint of white. Not many, 11, symbolizing faith and waiting. I raised an eyebrow, asking casually, "What's the even better news?" Jeremy got more serious, speeding up his words. "Got news from L City this morning. The W Group released shares, enough for us to buy everything." Seeing I didn't reply, he toned down the smile a bit. Cautiously asked, "Should we buy them all?" After all, being married to Evelyn for 10 years, it's normal for Jeremy to be unsure of my feelings. I looked up, raised an eyebrow. "Why not buy? It's money, isn't it?" Jeremy nodded. "Got it." I gestured with my chin. "Go ahead." Once he turned around, I grabbed my phone to message Laura. "Thanks for the flowers. How about dinner with me tonight?" Almost immediately, a reply buzzed in. "My pleasure." Laura got there first, booked a private room inside, and was pouring tea. "Sorry, traffic was bad," I said. I put down my bag and sat to her right. The room could fit 5 or 6 people, but I chose the seat right next to her. She paused for a moment and glanced up at me. I'd purposefully gone home to change clothes and fix my hair. I swapped my lake blue silk shirt and black slacks for a fitted cashmere sweater and casual pants. Knowing she likes a woody scent, I even changed my cologne. Laura set down the teapot, smiled, and asked, "Are we expecting more guests?" I raised an eyebrow. Can't a guy change his look for someone he likes? Even though I didn't have strong feelings for her, I had to admit it. She's really smart, and dealing with smart people is straightforward and effortless. Especially since she likes me, it felt even more thoughtful. Seeing that I didn't confirm it, she didn't ask further. She just told the waiter to serve the food. We chatted casually, from the north to the south, from local to international topics. Suddenly, someone pushed the door open. The voice carried a hint of someone who had just arrived from afar. "Sorry, the room is full. Mind if I join?" Evelyn somehow knew about the local custom of sharing tables. Without looking up, I said, "Not convenient. Get out." She chuckled and sat down next to me. She glanced at the crease on my pants, and her face fell a bit. "Come on, Ethan. I've been on a plane for hours. I'm tired," she whispered, as annoyingly stubborn as always. "Sorry, Laura. Do you mind?" Evelyn acted like she just noticed Laura. She forced a fake smile and asked. Laura looked at me and laughed. "I don't mind, but we've finished eating. If Evelyn is hungry, you can order more. This stuff is just leftovers. It might be hard to digest." I raised an eyebrow. Laura was more assertive than I imagined. With that, she stood up and offered me a hand. Without hesitation, I took her hand, stood up, and we leaned into each other, closer than mere friends. In an instant, Evelyn's face darkened. She reached out and said, "Ethan, come home with me." I couldn't help but laugh and ask back, "Home? Where? Here is my home. You want me to follow you back to El City? That's your home, not mine." Hearing my words, her back straightened and her face turned pale, almost as if she couldn't breathe. A few seconds later, she said, "It was my fault. Whatever you want, the W group, if you come home with me, I'm willing—" "Evelyn, you seem to have a bad memory," I cut her off. "You seem to forget we're already divorced. I'm not going back, and I won't accept any of your peace offerings." She pursed her lips, seeing my firm decision. Most of the color drained from her face. She looked like she had taken a heavy blow. My brow furrowed as I suddenly remembered the time she and I were robbed in Los Angeles. I still remember that was the second year I went to LA. The group was violent, seemed to be prepared, blocking several Asians, making us strip and hand over valuables. Evelyn shielded me with her body, glaring at them. She whispered in my ear, "Stay close to me." I nodded repeatedly, scared that even a slight mistake would cost us our lives. A few minutes passed, and she seized the moment to fight one of them. We didn't expect him to have a gun. The shots left my soul shattered. But her expression remained unchanged, just telling me, "Stay close, run, Ethan. Don't be afraid, follow me." My feet were swift as the wind, following her out. When we reached safety, I noticed her arm and shoulder had a bullet wound, and she didn't mention it to keep me from being scared. Luckily, the thugs were using old, used bullets without casings, or else her left arm could have been ruined. I cried a lot, fearing she'd die. Tears kept streaming down. Back then, her face was as pale as now, but she still comforted me. "Don't cry. It looks ugly, like a little kitten." Now it feels impossible to return to those times. I don't want to be driven by past emotions, so I looked at her and said, "I remember you saying on our divorce day, whatever I asked for in the future, you'd agree." Evelyn's expression changed, trying to stop me, but it was too late. "I want you to never show up before me again." I said it twice, each time more seriously, more and more determined each time. After saying it, I leaned into Laura and quietly said, "Evelyn, I'm ready to try with someone else. Don't seek me out. I want a fresh start." At that moment, it was destruction. All was lost. Evelyn was like a vulnerable city swept away by a hurricane. She blinked, and a tear fell. Her mouth moved, but I could barely hear the words. "Don't be like this. Don't do this to me, Ethan." She left everything behind, offering the W group as a sacrifice, just hoping for my forgiveness to bring me home. But here I am, holding someone else's hand, saying I want a new life. I stopped looking at her and walked away with Laura. I knew she'd been betting on my soft heart. The divorce was one time, and her illness was another. But what did I do wrong to deserve this treatment? I resented her too. Hated her for being so good to me then, and hated her for ruining everything now. Evelyn fell ill. She was stubborn. Her extreme mental illness, triggered by me, relapsed. She was in a daze every day, unable to eat on her own, reliant on cold medical equipment to sustain vital signs. The W group was a mess too, with GT Group seizing the opportunity to acquire many shares, becoming the second largest shareholder next to Evelyn. I heard Evelyn's mother couldn't take the news and ended up in the emergency room. Mother and daughter both fell ill, and without any support, the W group might collapse. In the end, Leon found himself begging in front of the Harringtons, using his life and Terry's future as leverage to force them to invest. What a naive kid, yet so reminiscent of how every parent worries for their child. In less than a month, the Harringtons were nearly brought to their knees, yet the W Group was still struggling. Meanwhile, GT Group, my group, was quietly eating up all market shares, making a fortune. Messing up once can be excused as an oversight. Messing up twice is just foolish. As the W Group was about to crumble and become GT Group's easy prey, and Evelyn was nearing her end, Evelyn's mother came to S City, pleading with my parents. She had just left the hospital, her head full of white hair, trembling as if she had little time left. In front of my father, she seemed to have aged not just 20 years, but more, bowing deeply. Within seconds, she was on her knees, shouting desperately, "You can have the W Group, my life. Even make me kneel before you and apologize. I was wrong, untrustworthy, lower than a dog. But my daughter, she truly loves your son. All I ask is that you allow him to see her once. It was my fault. I said I had cancer and needed my biological grandson's bone marrow to survive. I drugged Evelyn and that boy from the Harringtons into spending a night together. It's all my fault. Evelyn never loved anyone else. She only wanted to save my life." Her voice was filled with regret, each word heartbreaking with her fear of losing her daughter. It's vastly different from those years she left Evelyn alone overseas and broke 3 of her ribs. Even if I understand this might be a mother's love, I can't help but feel disgusted. It's disturbingly twisted. Even with Evelyn's mother's kneeling plea, my father didn't make any decision for me. He wanted me to decide for myself. He just arranged for Evelyn's mother to be sent to the hospital where Evelyn was and ordered to find the best doctors. I know my father feared that if I ever reconciled with Evelyn, her mother cannot die because of me. A parent's love for their child is far-reaching, yet my mother couldn't handle it. Clutching her chest, she kept asking me, "Ethan, what do you think?" I exhaled and said, "I'll go see her." In the hospital, Evelyn was rarely conscious. She had just seen her mother, full of white hair, with no trace of her past ambition. It's all her fault. A small mistake with grave consequences, hurting both herself and her mother. At this moment, she still didn't know her mother's cancer was fake. She only knew that soon Ethan would be here to see her. Half an hour later, I knocked on the hospital room door. Evelyn looked at me with surprise, but sank back when she saw Laura behind me. Still, she didn't dare act tough. Half sitting up, she said, "Ethan, you came to see me." I nodded and said to her, "I came to tell you 2 things. If you can get through them, live on. If not, you're free to die." Evelyn's face was pale, yet she forced a smile. "I can get through it, as long as you're by my side." I didn't respond, cutting straight to it. "Your mother doesn't have cancer. You don't have to worry about her dying from illness. But then again, who knows? Anything's possible." She only paused a second before understanding, lips trembling. "So that night?" I nodded. "Your mom drugged you." She lowered her head, appearing pained and helpless. I continued, "Luckily your mom doesn't have cancer, because if she did, Leon's kid couldn't save her. That child isn't yours, Evelyn. The reason we haven't had kids in our 10 years of marriage is because you're infertile, not me." Her face turned even paler, quickly grasping my point. Looking at me, she said, "Ethan, I didn't—" "I know," I interrupted. "You of course didn't cheat with Leon because I couldn't have kids. You were just set up by your mom and believed her, wanting to keep the child to save her. But Evelyn, I don't believe you're that stupid enough to think your mom saying she had cancer was true." I looked down at her. "You wanted to save your mom, but you also wanted your own child. Even if you won't admit it, I know you too well. You didn't verify if your mom really had cancer because you wanted a reason to keep the child. You were going along with it, waiting for the child to be born for me to accept it. After all, in your mind, I couldn't have kids, right? Evelyn, you didn't just betray me and our marriage. You insulted my intelligence, disrespected my character, and even took my love for granted. So when I say I want a divorce, it's not out of spite, but because I mean it. Do you understand? I didn't expect that as soon as I finished, Evelyn would pass out. Within half an hour, she received 2 emergency notices. I stood outside the ICU, frowning. Watching Laura, who came with me, suddenly lighten up, I asked, "You're a psychology expert, right? What do you think?" She nodded. "It's real. Psychiatric illnesses are the hardest to treat. Without the will to live, organs can fail quickly, as shown in many clinical cases. What you just said could very well push her to die." I came to see just how serious it was, and I think she might soon pass. I was silent for a few seconds before asking, "Then am I?" She shook her head. "Not quite, not even manslaughter." I gave a small acknowledgement, not speaking further, just impressed with Laura's knack for understanding people's minds. Another hour passed. Evelyn was eventually saved. The doctor said, "Evelyn's will to live is very weak. It's hard to say how much she'll recover." I have to admit, at this moment, most of the anger in my heart disappeared. Hearing the doctor say Evelyn's will to live is low finally gave me peace. Let it be, let it go, for both our sakes. After that day, I never went back to the hospital. Never seeing each other again might just be the best ending for Evelyn and me. As for her illness, there are professional doctors and psychologists to treat her. We're no longer 17. It's even harder being in a foreign place like Los Angeles. She doesn't have to shield me anymore, and I don't have to cry over her. Later, I heard from someone that Evelyn's mother didn't make it and passed away. It finally brought Evelyn some clarity. After returning to El City, she sold the W Group and left for Los Angeles. As for Leon, not only did he miss the wedding, but he was also devastated when Terry was taken away by his biological mother. It was only after the Harringtons were dragged down that he began to regret it. But all this, it has nothing to do with me anymore. In a blink of an eye, February came, and the new year was approaching. Everywhere in S City was filled with the New Year vibe. Although I grew up here, I realized it had been over 10 years since I wandered around this city properly. So I suggested exploring it. But my parents, having stayed in S City for too long, weren't interested. One waved it off with a, "Not interested," and the other nudged me, saying, "Let Laura accompany you." I was about to forget it, thinking I could always go by myself. But the next day, Laura was already waiting downstairs, following my mom's orders. We went to many places over those few days, mostly different little alleyways. There's this distinct laid-back and relaxed vibe unique to S City everywhere. The 100-year-old ash trees lining the alleys swayed their golden leaves. Passing through, there was a red persimmon tree from some household laden with red lantern-like persimmons. Full as could be, no one picked them, leaving birds flying by to peck at them, dropping with a plop on the ground. In El City, every inch of land is precious. Even at the top of Victoria Peak, there's no leisure. Everyone's sprinting ahead, forgetting how they got there in the first place. I was so absorbed by that persimmon tree until Laura's voice brought me back, saying she'd be right back. I nodded, letting her do her thing. I sauntered slowly, browsing while waiting. Minutes later, Laura came back with a simple bouquet made of persimmons. I raised my brow, showing a hint of surprise. "Did you pick these from someone's house?" She nodded. "I saw you staring for a long time, so I went to find the homeowner. They were happy to hear it was for a boy, and clipped quite a few down with a pole. The peanuts are freshly roasted, too. They smell wonderful." I admired them fondly, taking a close look, and said, "This is way more my style than the bouquet of lovers' tears." After saying this, Laura hesitated for a moment. I realized I might have been rude and apologized. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that, but she cut me off. Ethan, I know what's on your mind. These years I wasn't truly waiting for you. It's just that finding someone who understands me is hard, so I stayed single. I looked at her, knowing she understood what I meant. Compared to the intensity of a lover's devotion, this simple life with persimmons and peanuts is what I want now. I've loved too deeply and painfully. I don't want to go through it again. I tried to speak but found myself at a loss for words. Should I say I'm not interested in you, even though you say you weren't waiting for me, but I still feel pressured? Or should I say, no matter what you do, if you're interested in me, I'll feel uncomfortable? Yet, I recently used her and claimed I was starting anew. How do I even explain that? A few seconds later, it seemed she read my thoughts. She looked at me and seriously said, "Friends, just friends. Isn't helping each other what friends do?" Her straightforwardness and insight stripped away the layer I most worried about. Even if she might not be entirely sincere, her candid declaration reassured me, promising not to overstep. It gave me room and protected my sensitive, awkward heart. I was sincerely grateful. A moment later, I smiled and said, "Thanks." She nodded, turning ahead to lead the way through S City, and I followed, slightly lighter-hearted and a bit hopeful. Not just for the time ahead, but for the future. Though a blank future can't replace destiny, having met was a blessing. If we truly have a future together, things can naturally be as they may. We can worry about later when it comes. Evelyn's epilogue. After my mom passed away, I brought her back to El City to be buried with my grandpa. My grandpa died in an accident when I was 15. His abrupt departure sent Mom into deep grief. I always reminded her of him. That's why she sent me abroad. I often wondered if I would have ended up like Grandpa, maybe even dying by accident, if I hadn't met Ethan 2 years later. Luckily, I had Ethan. Yet I lost him. Returning to El City woke me up. Painfully so. I realized that this city was filled with our memories. We lived here, facing each other daily for 10 years. I don't know what blinded me, making me lose him. I just know I brought all this upon myself. He loved me so much, bearing a decade of gossip for me. But I got greedy, wanting my child, even when I had him. I couldn't stay in El City any longer, so I sold the W Group. I couldn't set foot in S City again either. He said he no longer wanted to see me, that he was starting afresh. So I crossed the ocean back to Los Angeles. Only here, there's still something somewhat sufficient to support the rest of my life. One day, I returned to campus, sitting under the big tree we always visited. I lingered for ages. By the time I stood, my foot was numb. Bending forward to move my leg, I saw a line of words. It was old, yet barely readable. "Evelyn, I really like you." Right then, I was so overwhelmed I couldn't even stand. I coughed for ages, finally catching my breath after coughing up a black blood clot. I knew my days were numbered. Staring at those words, my rationality shattered into pieces again. I sobbed, uncontrollably behind the tree. What had I done? Until the sunset, I pulled out a Mont Blanc pen, long out of ink, writing stroke by stroke. "Ethan, I'm sorry."
Arrow point? All night, what? She's asking if I'm gonna stream all night. I don't know. I'm gonna order some pizza soon though, because I'm feckin' hungry.
Let's go. Taking fire.
undecided about what you? What? Good question. That's a good question. CDs. I'm getting hungry. It's only 4 p.m. and like I'm Simon's age.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty fucking hungry right now, meow.
Back on hotel roof or whatever it is.
Objective Bravo is under attack.
Their attack's up.
Yep.
Be advised, our control of Bravo has been lost.
Probably some spaghetti.
Their tow missiles up.
Spaghetti and
Dude,
meatballs.
it's fucking damn near straight vertical for him.
The way you spelled balls
That's
makes me
ridiculous.
uncomfortable.
Damn, random.
Look at the L7 weenie here. What's up, James? L7 weenie.
You killed that dude on A roof yet, man?
That was no. I saw the ping,
I just
but
RBG'd their little bird.
Oh no.
Wait.
Nice.
What's uncomfortable about my balls? Shouldn't have read that one out loud. I got my best friend's 3-year-old to say that. L7 weenie. Dodger dog.
Our control of Delta has been lost.
Anyway.
I'm sure they're lovely. I should call him.
Is our LB up?
Yeah, it is. God damn it. I thought I was blocking it.
Thought I was him for a second.
The way this dude just flew, we're about to die, don't worry.
Objective
About to
Delta
eat a
has
tow
been
missile. Oh, we're about to eat
We're
one.
about to eat some toes.
Nummy.
secured more objectives.
Nom noms.
Nummy nummy.
Hostile forces have control. We are fighting back.